Hey everyone, I'm Megan with the admin team on the Sacramento Mandarins. The Mandarins just recently announced the exciting addition of Becca Anderson as our new creative director. We are going to take some time today for you all to meet Becca. So Becca, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Megan. So my name is Becca Anderson, and I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, and I lived there until about 11, until we transplanted down to Palm Harbor, Florida. And I lived in Florida through high school and college, and then moved all the way across the country to be in the Pacific Northwest. I've lived all over the place. I've lived in Washington, Indianapolis, and currently I am kind of in two places. I live part of the year in Boise, Idaho with my husband, Mike Anderson, and my two little doggies, Sophie and Mimi. And then the other part of the year, we are lucky enough to live in Maui, Hawaii. And I have been, outside of being a designer, I'm also an adjudicator for WGI BOA. And 2020 was supposed to be my first season judging for DCI, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So that is where I'm at.
Awesome. So technically, what state are you in right now?
I am in Boise, Idaho right now until Thursday. And then 2 days from now, or 3 days from now, we are going to get back to Maui for the first time in almost a year because of the pandemic.
Wow. Well, that sounds pretty lovely. So,
Yeah.
all right. So tell us a bit about your incredibly extensive experience within the drum corps and pageantry activities. Like, how did you start on this path? And ultimately, how did you get to where you are today?
It's an awesome question. So I started in high school when I went to Tarpon Springs High School. It was actually Kevin and Janine's first year at the program. And they were a part of Carolina Crown as well. So I ended up marching while I was in high school at Crown. After high school, I marched in an independent World Guard called the Company under Adam Sage. And then I aged out with Cadets in 2000. So I had some really great experiences with different organizations. I started teaching right out of high school and had an opportunity as well, not just some local high schools, but I got to stay at Tarpon for quite a few years, about 4 or 5 years after I graduated, and that was an incredible experience. And I think that led me to really falling in love with the activity. So from there, I was lucky enough because of my brother to meet Michael Gray, and he gave me my first writing gig out of state. And I was writing a little bit here and there, but I got to go up to Lexington High School in South Carolina, and it's where I ended up meeting my husband. He was the drill designer, and he was really the one that saw something in me at the time when we were just friends that, you know, he felt like this was something I could do for a living. So he convinced me to move all the way across the country to the Pacific Northwest to start doing pageantry full time. And that's where I got to meet a lot of fantastic people. That was my first real drum corps experience teaching. I got to work with the Seattle Cascades. I got to work with the Oregon Crusaders. We started an independent color guard out of the Cascades. And we had that just for a few years, but it happened so fast. We even incorporated under a separate umbrella called North by Northwest. And within those 2 years, we had an A-Guard world champion and an open class finalist that got promoted into independent world. So it was a whirlwind, and I had no clue what I was doing. But in the Pacific Northwest, it was so hard to do pageantry full time. So we wanted to kind of immerse ourselves into an area that was more diverse from a pageantry standpoint. So we moved to Indianapolis, and that is where I met two of the most wonderful people, Matt James and Randy Greenwell, who gave me the opportunity to take over the dance and color guard program at Lawrence Central High School. And they were already this high profile BOA finalist that had won a few national championships, and I got thrown into it. And that's really, I would say, the first place that I got to be a huge part of the creative design. Working directly with Matt as the visual designer taught me so much, and Randy so much about administrative and how to deal with the students, and it was fantastic. So there we, were so lucky to make BOA finals each year that I was there, had a Scholastic World Guard finals every year, and that was where I really felt like I found my voice creatively, especially with the Winter Guard being able to do anything and everything that I wanted, and it was a blast. But from there, I had this opportunity to be a full-time designer. So I left full-time teaching every day in high school and started really diving into every aspect of visual design. And my husband, every step of the way, really was a huge part of my growth, a huge part of all of the design teams that we were in. But then he started pushing me into visual design, and we would work together on projects. I was inputting because at the time he was writing by hand, and I was learning Pyware because that's when Pyware started to get really big. And that progressively turned into me writing drill, which was crazy. And what was even crazier was that one of my first real opportunities to write drill while I was being a choreographer at the same time was for O'Fallon Township, and they ended up making BOA finals. So it was crazy. It was such a whirlwind, and we loved our experience there. We're not there anymore, but and that was another high-profile female band director, and she was fearless about letting us be super creative. So, and we've worked with a lot of different high school programs throughout the country relative to working with BOA bands and nationally competitive WGI groups. Now, currently, I'm the new creative director for Juxtaposition, which is an independent world team out of Dayton, Ohio. And obviously, that's what took me into the Mandarins team. So there's a lot that went on behind the scenes with all of that. But, you know, currently I am a full-time choreographer, a full-time visual designer, and I do a lot of program coordination and creative design for groups all over the country.
That is excellent. Wow. Very well connected. That's awesome. All right. So what exactly does a creative director do within a drum corps?
Well, I think the role is to really guide the production and be responsible for the overall quality of the work being produced from a creative standpoint. My job is, at least the way that I look at it, is to lead and inspire the design team as a whole. You know, take ideas and produce them into one cohesive thought. But I think a big thing is aiding and creating the show from top to bottom and all of its nuances relative to things like color design and overall aesthetics of the show, the storyboard, having that voice within the musical soundtrack and the design team, and all of the elements that make up the totality of the program, and putting that onto the field.
Great, thank you. All right, how would you describe your creative style?
Oh man, so I would say, I was thinking about this. Somebody said to me once, they always looked at my design ideals as architecture. And I actually did a show called Architecture in Motion one year. And I think that that is a really good idea, because I love changing space. I love taking things and manipulating them, whether they be props or equipment or different things that we're not used to seeing. Edgy is, I would say, a good word to use, and unique. I love to take risks. I love doing things that I've never seen before. I love color. I think color is so important to create a variety of moods and variety. I could do anything from something extremely beautiful to extremely aggressive, and I love pop culture.
All right. I mean, I think all us Mandarins fans can be excited about that.
I don't like boring.
Good. Excellent. So why were you drawn to this role at the Mandarins?
I love that the Mandarins isn't afraid to take risks and do something different within the drum corps world. I've heard nothing but incredible things about how the organization as a whole treats their performers and the tour staff, anything from tour staff to admin to the instructors, and really allow their designers to follow their passion and their creativity. And when JW reached out to me, I was surprised at how easy our conversation was. And then I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people on staff. And that same feeling continued as I had the opportunity to speak to all of them. And I really wanted to know that I would be the right fit, you know, because it's not just about me being offered this job, but that I fit into the puzzle. And I know in my best experiences, I've had this feeling of family. And that's the reason why I said yes to this job when it was offered, because it has been so easy already to talk to the team and they've already made me feel a huge part of it. So that's really comfortable and really exciting for me.
So the Mandarins have elevated to a new competitive level within the last few years. So what is your vision or strategy, not only to maintain that competitive edge, but to elevate it?
One thing I know in my experience is that you can't control subjectivity in this competitive realm, but you can embrace competition. And my goal is that we strive for what's next and what's forward thinking in the activity. We won't follow the status quo. We will choose things that will stand the test of time. We will build upon the core strengths and dive into those weaknesses that we will then make into new strengths. I want to see the products that we produce get people to their feet and continue to love the Mandarins.
I'm excited about it. All right, so men dominate leadership roles within drum corps and the pageantry activity as a whole. However, this definitely is not due to a lack of very qualified talent. So what insight do you have for people in leadership roles within the drum corps community that can help foster a more inclusive and diverse environment, not just for women, but for all folks?
I think that that is a fantastic question. It's a tough question, but I think the first thing I want to say is that the people that lead the activity right now, especially in DCI, are nothing but brilliant. They deserve the accolades. They deserve the credit for what they've created. I mean, the legacy of DCI is nothing but amazing. In my honest opinion, I think that it's about having access. We need more access to the job. And I think a good parallel in pageantry is similar to, let's say, a parallel in sports, where if you want a head position, like as a head coach or a GM, those people that want those jobs need to have access to the assistant jobs, the jobs that are the bottom level jobs, to work their way up. Experiences and access is what helps elevate people to the top. I think that it's a natural progression, and people need to be given a chance. And that means that we need to identify, and when I say we, I'm talking about the people that are in the positions to offer those jobs. We need to do a better job identifying prospective leaders and mentoring them through sometimes the difficult or early years. And what's amazing is that last year, someone like Mike Gaines, he posted this opportunity for women to be mentored as drill writers. And it blew up. There were so many people that wanted to be a part of that then he started reaching out to other people to help mentor those people. And it was hundreds of women. And that is something that I think everybody in our activity needs to open themselves up to. Music arrangers, percussion arrangers, choreographers, everybody needs a mentor. You know, I have a mentor. I talk to people all the time. And it's the only way that our activity will continue to survive and excel. To the people striving for that, they have to let their voices be heard and not be afraid. Speak up. Tell people when they're being talked over. Tell people when they're not being given the opportunity. Seek out jobs. You know, one thing that people can do is, instead of waiting for jobs, go try to seek out where you can get them. You know, if I want to be a drill writer and I'm a new drill writer, call every school in your area. Why not? Somebody is going to say yes, and reach out to them and have those personal conversations. But in the same token, if you're that band director that's being called, they have to be open to the change, and they have to be open to not trading the same 5 people in their area within the same jobs. And we see that in every aspect, I think, of the activity. The same people are traded and traded and traded. It's like a baseball card. And you know, we're not giving those opportunities, that seat at the table, to new people. For the people that are striving to get there, get better at your craft. You know, you don't need a gig to create a portfolio. You can write choreography and film yourself. You can write your own drill. You can write your own music, and get better at that by watching videos and going to seminars and learning from these mentors. But here's the thing. I think that the most enduring thing is that change begins within us. And as we're working towards cultural change, we need to work on changing ourselves. And the only element we have complete control over is ourselves. So the best people in the activity are going to make mistakes, and we've seen it happen. But those people are also capable of change. I think that when the answer is, I don't know anybody, I don't know anybody else, I don't know women that I can put in this role, I don't know, people of color or anybody in the LGBTQ community that can be put in those roles, I think that's the problem, that we need to go out there and look. And I speak from example because I was a part of aiding in hiring the color guard staff that's going to be a part of the Mandarins now. And I talked to so many people that I have never, ever heard of or talked to. And the results were astounding of the talent that is in this community. It is up to us to go out there and search for it.
So tell us a bit about the process creating and developing a drum corps show. Who are the people you are partnering with most to take an idea to an actual field show?
Oh, that's awesome. So I definitely feel, for me, that I find a visual inspiration first, or an idea or a hook that can be developed. And sometimes I have multiple ideas, and I like to bring those to the table of the entire design team and see where we go with it. So who do I surround myself with, especially, let's just talk about this year. It's going to be, the main designers and a lot of the faces that we've seen that were going to be a part of 2020, like Key Poland, Peter Beckhart, Benjamin Piles, Brian Harbson, and Andy Filipiak. I think that, sitting in a room with them and talking through ideas and see what has legs, what has merits, what is going to take twists and turns. And then we create this storyboard. And I love getting input from other people, because sometimes the best small idea creates something even bigger and more spectacular. But the design team, we come together, we develop every aspect from musical ideas to color and texture and set design and feel. And that will all be put into this storyboard that we create. And then as each person in the team starts to work on their part of the music or drill or choreography, we fine tune and tweak those ideas so that it becomes one cohesive product. I talk a lot sometimes with other teams about compartmentalization. And I think that it has to be a cohesive thing. It can't just be this person doing that thing and this person doing another. Like, there always has to be that idea behind all of it to come together. But honestly, outside of the design team, I rely on my husband a lot. Mike Anderson, he is so brilliant, and I always pass ideas through him to get his initial reaction, because he's an incredible judge, and he's an upstairs judge, and I love to get that spitfire reaction from him, and he always has some incredible ideas. So I do love that. I spit ideas off of a lot of my friends that are local pageantry people that are really smart.
Do you have a favorite Mandarin show, and what do you love about that show?
Oh, I do. I loved Inside the Ink. And I thought that what I loved about that, and I remember watching it for the first time, I thought that it was so creative and fresh. It was something very different on the field. The way that they used the field with the interactive props was beautifully put together. And it was a crowd favorite. It combined so many of these elements that I really connect with.
Are you involved in any creative endeavors outside of drum corps and the pageantry activities?
I love seeing live performances. I can't wait for Broadway to come back so I can go back to New York City. Mike is a huge film buff, so we go to film festivals. We're actively involved in the Maui Film Festival, and so we see tons of great movies that people usually don't know about. And it's amazing what that will bring to the table when it comes to creativity. I do love to paint, although I haven't been able to do it a ton, and I love to cook, and I think that that's very creative, especially when people like it. But pretty much anything I can get my hands on, I love to do.
Yeah, I think creative people just kind of manage to find creativity all throughout their life.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm always making something.
You kind of talked a little bit earlier about your style, but what inspires you creatively?
Oh, so live performances for sure. Art, especially sculptures and performance art, film, art direction, and the use of color. I could be anywhere and I could see something. Like I was walking through the airport the other day and I saw just some random thing at the airport. I'll take a picture of it so I can remember that, or I'll see a structure of some kind and I'll take a picture of it. I have so many notes on my phone from just live experience wherever I'm around, if something pops up. But when I am searching for things online, I'll spend hours looking at art pieces and looking at dance pieces, which I think has been a big inspiration for drum corps. We've seen a lot from Momix or from Diavolo. Those have been very popular within the drum corps world in the last 5 or 6 years.
All right, so just for fun, what are your 3 must-have snacks when you are on tour?
Okay, I'm not sure if this is a snack, but coffee. If it's an iced coffee, it's a hot coffee. But that's what like. If I get hungry during the day, I'll usually drink coffee or tea. Gummy candy is that's rough for me. I love gummy candy, but I don't ever have it in the house. But you said on tour, and that is something that, especially even when I marched, I had that. And anything crunchy. I love chips. I love anything salty. So, but again, I try to keep that away.
Yeah. Well, I would say, coffee is absolutely an acceptable tour snack. So. All right. So one last question for you. We've talked a lot about, drum corps and your experience and whatnot. So tell us a bit about your life outside of drum corps. What are other things you enjoy doing, or things that recharge you?
Oh yeah. So Mike and I love to travel. We've been really lucky to travel all over the world, but we love tropical places, and anything that's warm. That is a recharge. Just laying by the pool and doing nothing but listening to music or reading a book. That's huge for us. We'll even do that in the busy time of the year, just for a little while, even if it's just for an hour, to kind of relax and get away from things. I love physical activity. So I love to surf. I love to snow ski. And the cool thing is that I have access to both most of the time, depending on the season. I love cooking dinner. So that always tends to be at my place and people come over. So I'm missing that with larger groups of people right now. And sitting with my best friends and enjoying life. I have my best friends literally in multiple areas of the country, Florida, Indianapolis, and right here in Boise. And we make plans every year to make sure we can get together and pretty much do nothing but spend time with each other. So, and my doggies, I love my doggies.
Dogs always.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Becca, thank you so much for taking some time, to talk with me today so that everyone, can have a chance to meet you. We're so happy and excited to have you on the Mandarins team, and welcome to the family.
Thank you. I'm so honored. I can't wait to hit the ground running and get this show on the road.
Woohoo.